Do you get a lot of complaints from audiences out here? Because I remember working in the Hindu, we used to get these complaints saying, why do you focus so much on Delhi? You're a southern newspaper, rooted here, we are your audience. Why is there so much Delhi coverage?
Then the bigger story is very often happening thousands of kilometers away, and you can't close your eyes to that.
You're going to Islamabad, you're going to Colombo, you're going to Dhaka. My question is, give us a sense of how Delhi is viewed from there.
I get to answer questions about Indian media, which on the streets of Nepal, I know not a great time to be a mainstream Indian journalist or Gaudiya media Indian journalist over the last couple of weeks.
Should people be paying more for digital?
I think news, value-added news analysis features, everything that takes your data, knowledge, wisdom further, I think is something that you should pay for.
When you think of news as a product, and when you think of your consumer and as a market, and as maybe as a reader in an audience, how does the question of the right of a reader feature in your newsroom?
In our case, we believe the best pieces of journalism we do in the newspaper on every day, which we think people should consume and have an opinion about, are editorials. Our editorials are outside the paywall. They're not rated as premium content.
You said you have readers who like you, love you, adore you. We have one more category, which is readers who hate us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our next session, Highs and Lows, the pressures of running a news organization away from Delhi. Building credible journalism outside the capital often means working with fewer resources and dealing with local pressures. But it also means having the chance to tell stories with fresh perspectives and to shape national conversations from regional vantage points. Today, we'll be talking about both the highs and lows of that journey. But before that, the session is powered by the Embassy of the Netherlands, India, and we are grateful for their support. Now, let's meet our fantastic panel. First up, we have Lisa Dupuy, South Asia correspondent at NRC, one of the Netherlands' leading dailies. Based in Delhi, she has built a strong body of reporting on politics, conflict, and social issues in India and the region, helping global audiences understand South Asia better. Next, Navaneeth LV, CEO of the Hindu Group, with wide-ranging experience across television, radio, and digital media. He's been guiding one of India's most respected legacy news organizations since 2019, keeping it relevant in a fast-changing media landscape. We also have Seema Singh, co-founder and editor of The Ken. She's known for her sharp and deeply researched business journalism and has authored Mythbreaker, Kiran Majumdar Shah, and the story of Indian biotech. She brings rare insight into building and sustaining quality journalism. Joining them is Sitaraman Shankar, CEO of IIMBx Digital Learning Foundation, a seasoned editor and leader. He was earlier at the helm of Deccan Herald. His perspective combines newsroom depth with the challenges of running large organizations. And finally, guiding today's conversation is our moderator, Sudipto Mondal, investigative journalist and executive editor at the News Minute. Based here in Bengaluru, his fearless reporting on caste, communalism, and corruption has made a mark both in India and internationally. Please join me in welcoming our panel and, with a big round of applause. Thank you.
Right, thanks Lakshmi for that introduction. That saves me a lot of time. We have 30 minutes. I'm going to try and speak as little as possible. And you know the topic. I'm going to open with Seema, who is from Bangalore. So therefore, we start with Seema. Seema, the first question I want to ask you, and I hope this will get the ball rolling. Now, a lot of people tell me about the Ken that it is very different from the other pink publications in that a lot of publications before yours, emerging out of Delhi, Bombay, would focus on trend spotting, would focus on policy, would do a lot of this captain speak, right? The captain of the industry, the captain of the ministry, the captain of this and that. Now, you guys did something different, and you did that from Bangalore. How important was Bangalore, choosing Bangalore in that choice?
So we exist because we started out of Bangalore. We started to cover, when we were set up, we were very clear that we wanted to cover new age economy, startups. Most of those companies were based out of Bangalore. So it was a no-brainer that we focused more on Bangalore. And Bangalore, really rewarded us by, sending early adopters, cheerleaders, and we found our real loyal readers in Bangalore. Over time, we sort of expanded both in subject. When we started covering mature subjects like healthcare and telecom. Delhi did become very important in that. And there we did have our disappointments and challenges. But looking back, I think Bangalore was a natural choice for us.
But just a follow-up question over here. It's not just the choice of the city, it's also the kind of journalism you do and the kind of people you choose to base your stories on. Correct me if I'm wrong. People, again, describe you as an outlet which has a critical view on things. And one of the things supposedly you're passionate about is innovation, which is local innovation. You have been described as somebody who frowns at companies from outside coming here, getting into deep tech and all of that. And you're very excited about local companies getting into that kind of thing. Just from the tops, just talk about that.
Yeah, so see, for us, it's like we don't have any agenda. We just follow the news. And to your point on what kind of companies, and so our work starts where the news organization's work ends. It's like, news is broken. Most of you know that today it's either a plant or plug or dial a code. So our work starts from there because we are curious. So what? What's next? Why is this important? So that's how we choose our stories. And because we do very selective stories, earlier we started with one a day. Now we have many other products and newsletters and podcasts, and also we have a wide coverage. But we keep our readers, valuable time that they give us in the morning, at the center of our selection. So topics which are relevant, which are current, which are significant, we choose that. And I don't think I agreed with you on, that we frown at MNCs and all that. That's not correct. As I said, we just go where our reporting takes us. But when we started, we were very clear that we want to have a very clear India lens on our stories. We don't sit here and write about, say, Google US or Facebook there or Microsoft there. If they're doing something in India, we would focus on that. So we don't do international coverage for the sake of like armchair coverage. But I don't agree with you that we frown on MNCs doing work in India. We have several stories to sort of prove that.
Nothing helps build a conversation better than a disagreement. So I think there's something to build upon over there. Lisa, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to ask you one of these cat among pigeon questions in the end. But for now, I want to ask these two people, Sitaraman, Shankar, and Navaneeth, who have a kind of to my mind, you're like conjoined in a sense. Because conjoined in the sense that, the Hindu and Deccan Herald, these two publications, I've loved Deccan Herald and I've worked with the Hindu. And the dilemma, the challenge in those publications, to my mind, was always, so if in the case of Deccan Herald, taking Karnataka to the world is one task, and bringing the world to Karnataka is the other task. And I would imagine the same being the case with the Hindu, taking the south to the world, starting with Tamil Nadu, starting with Chennai, perhaps Mylapore, but, taking that part to the world, bring the world to that part, from a marketing perspective, from an editorial perspective, whichever, toss a coin, who wants to go first?
Right, as one of the Siamese twins, I'll start off. So I think you put it very well, taking Karnataka to the world and bringing the world to Karnataka. In fact, I had kind of used this line while selling a concept to my team there. I think there are challenges being a regional paper or a regional media organization, but there are also advantages. You're a lot closer to your audience in some ways. As long as you are setting your news and whatever is happening in the context of what is happening nationally, that is, you don't miss the wood for the trees, you are looking at what is happening in policy, in politics in Delhi, and you are bringing that story inward and seeing the implications of what is happening there for people here, and then also covering the local stuff very well. So if you look at the major national papers and the regional papers, there isn't very much difference in the way they are made. You have a front page, you have a city page, a state, a nation, a world, the edit pages in between, business and sport. It's pretty much identical. I worked in the Hindustan Times and in the Deccan Herald, so it's very, very similar. I mean, you would always imagine Mrs. Singh in Lajpat Nagar reading your paper in Delhi, and here we created a Mr. Ramaswamy in Malleswaram. So these are your persona that you try to keep happy. So it isn't very different, is my broad point, as long as you set it in a context. You set a regional paper or regional news in the context of what is happening nationally and globally.
Said you are not keeping them very happy, you're keeping them very provoked. Both what you did in HT and what you did in Deccan Herald, I want to come back to this thing of how important the audience is in shaping the editorial content. And as just a quick supplementary, do you get, and this is something, Navaneeth, I hope you'll answer as well, which is, do you get a lot of complaints from audiences out here? Because I remember working in the Hindu, we used to get these complaints saying, why do you focus so much on Delhi? You're a southern newspaper, rooted here, we are your audience. Why is there so much Delhi coverage? Why is there 2 pages to Delhi and just 1 page to Karnataka kind of thing? Do you get that a lot from readers?
Not a great deal. I think you will find that most of the regional papers, and here I include HT in a sense, because the dictate always used to be that you would have 1 Delhi story on page 1. Here, similarly, you would willy-nilly have a Bangalore or Karnataka story on page 1. So your local audience is served, but then the bigger story is very often happening thousands of kilometers away, and you can't close your eyes to that. So you won't get objections to that. I mean, you would get different types of nasty letters, but not necessarily on this.
So Ramaswamy sir is not complaining about it.
Ramaswamy sir, I think he may even be in the room. I mean, I hope he's here. Yeah.
Navaneeth.
Yeah, Sudipto, in 1878, 147 years ago, the Hindu was born, headquartered in Chennai. It had its reasons. From then to now, our ambition, our aspirations, what we aspire to do has changed. Today, across our news assets, we want to be the go-to destination for anybody seeking to make sense of India and the world. That's our ambition. And coming to Delhi specifically, we've always been interested in Delhi. We've had a presence there. We've got a vibrant edition. So the Hindu is based in the south, but it's a national newspaper with an international outlook. We have always been interested and invested in Delhi, and I dare say Delhi has always been interested in what we have to say.
All right. Lisa, I want to come to you now. I'm wondering if I should ask a supplementary. I think I'll do that later. But Lisa, the cat among pigeons question. So you are somebody who gets to cover the whole of South Asia. And you're based in Delhi for most part, but you're also going around this neighborhood. You're going to Islamabad, you're going to Colombo, you're going to Dhaka. My question is, give us a sense of how Delhi is viewed from there. And I hope you will be, and you promised yesterday that you're not going to mince words. So tell us, in this emerging world order, what is Delhi looking like from there?
Right, yeah. So now we've zoomed all the way out and we're hitting a very different definition of what is a region. I want to give a very quick first anecdote, which is I cover 8 countries. I wouldn't want to presume, these are India's neighboring countries, so I wouldn't want to presume that I'm telling you all something that you don't know about these countries, right? I do my job for an audience that is very far away. People are often confused as to who I am supposed to represent. So my newspaper is NRC, which within India itself is a bit of a fraught acronym. This happens quite regularly. People will sort of like halfway through a conversation go, by the way, who are you with again? And then I'm like, oh, I've got a business card, and I whip it out and they're like, and I have to go, no, it's in a different language, it's not the same thing. So I try to whip out the business card as late as possible so that they've had the chance to feel that they were in an open conversation with someone. And then if I move outside of Delhi, and especially if I move outside of India to cover all of the other countries I get to frequent and visit, there is almost like a double take, because they're like, oh, you're from where? I'm from the Netherlands, but I'm based in India. Obviously, the India bit then sticks. And then I'm taken as a representative of India. So I get to answer questions about Indian media, which on the streets of Nepal, I know not a great time to be a mainstream Indian journalist or Gaudy media Indian journalist over the last couple of weeks, which I am not. But there is definitely times where I am asked to sort of like stand in for a context that is my job to then contextualize to an audience very far away. So there's definitely some flack. Yeah, I can tell you I can definitely have to wade through some criticism of India's position towards those other countries. I'm just a weird intermediate, right, in those situations, because I'm not an India whisperer by any means, or even an Indian audience whisperer. So that is always an interesting position to be in.
You want to extend that and talk about the pressures you might face out here when you come back from a reporting assignment outside?
Sorry?
When you come back from a reporting assignment, let's say in Islamabad or in Dhaka or in Kathmandu, what kind of reception do you get in Delhi?
Right. Whenever I come back from Islamabad, the first person to call me is the MEA spokesperson. And then it's the Islamabad embassy spokesperson. Literally within half an hour of each other, they will call me. I'll have put on my bag in my apartment. So that definitely happens. It makes sense also. Indian government knows when I'm out of the country, and they know when I come back. I learn a lot from these interactions if I'm on the street with people. It's very my personal struggle as someone that's sort of like doing the in and out zooming when it comes to the region is I don't always have the space to go to that extent in my reporting for a Dutch audience. So even in my communications with my newsroom, who will actually there is a lot of the prominence of Indian media is very clear. They're also mostly English language media. So my editors back in the Netherlands read those media. When there's sometimes, in some cases, means there's a lot of bias to wade through, and you're like, actually, I think if we were going to ask the people in Dhaka, they're going to see things very differently. So maybe I should really go out there. That's how I, get my trips pitched.
Right. Thanks for that. Now, I hope in the next segment where we are discussing subscribers, readers, you will kind of help me a little to get more stuff out of these three people, because I see you as pioneers in this entire space of getting audiences into the digital reading, reading online habit, cultivating that audience, finding them. In the case of Seema, you were one of the earliest. So the Ken, if many of you might not know, they're the ones who first cracked this subscription model. And that's the one thing that any journalist will tell you while talking about the Ken. So this audience, developing this audience, in this, so Shankar, correct me if I'm wrong, back when we were in HT, there was some plan to start an edition in the South. And one of the things they said was Bangalore is the place to start. Why? Because there's a paying audience over here. There's an intellectual crowd over here. They want to know. They are curious. They are innovators, blah, blah, blah. Seema, how did this play into your plans when you started off?
So like I said earlier, the reason we started out of Bangalore was because we wanted to cover digital economy. And that segment was here. And we found our early paying subscribers here. So that proved our model, right? As they say, product market fit. But as you would have known in recent years that there's also another school of thought which says that, Bangalore is a bubble. And companies that find their product market fit here do not succeed elsewhere because, the rest of the market is not Bangalore. And we had to work very hard to sort of get out of Bangalore and make, our work felt in, say, in Delhi or Bombay and all that. So I think it took us a couple of years, and we just did the old school journalism of just following, relevant stories, being absolutely non-partisan in covering, and then slowly ministries and governments and policy makers and all this, they started taking interest. I don't think they subscribe, but they certainly read us, the pirated PDF versions, because they come back to me sometimes through WhatsApp, from Niti Aayog people and others, and that, oh, great story, and here, is the PDF. So that, so we got the validation in Bangalore, but we had to work hard to, for example, our chief product officer here, PGK is here, you all can pick his brain later on. We don't profile our readers. We follow, the European data privacy rules, and, we absolutely take minimal information from our readers. But the analytics that we have about our audience shows that, now Bombay is neck and neck with Bangalore, right? And that's an interesting thing, that how we evolved as a product. So when we started, new age economy, startups and all, and then more mature industries, then listed companies, public markets. So now that's how the audience has grown. So, from Bangalore, we have a long tail. So, from Ballari to Chhattisgarh to Lucknow, we get, comments and feedback from readers. But it's taken us 9 years. Incidentally, today is our, we complete 9 years today. 3rd October we'll launch. So, yeah, it's a long journey. Did I answer your question or did I sort of meander?
No, you opened up new questions and I answered it as well.
Okay.
Shankar.
I'll answer that in two parts. One is the physical newspaper business and the digital when it comes to subscription. So when it comes to consumption of the physical product across markets, I'd like to segment people who consume you in largely 4 buckets. People who are interested in what you say, who's a casual reader, might pick you up once in a while. People who like you, who are regular readers. Then there are people who love you, and finally the people who adore you. And your approach to each market depends on the size of the audience in each geographic market. And the way we build your business models in each of these markets, depending on how much advertising revenue you get and how much you don't, the size of a local bureau you want to build in particular places, whether you want to be deep local or just national outlook and interpret what's happening, that differs. For instance, in Delhi, we are significant, but we are not in the numbers game. We sell India's highest priced newspaper in Delhi because it's for the super fan, people who adore us, and we sell in large numbers. We don't depend on that market for advertising, but we have higher cover price. South, we have multiple editions, but we print in many other parts of the country. Now, Delhi, we have an edition, South, we have an edition. Between West and East, we have stitched together a common national edition. Now, this edition doesn't have too much of local news. It's got largely national news, and largely that news product is valued for its views and not necessarily news. In those markets, you might very well be the second newspaper, but it's priced at a premium. All these markets, the newspaper sells for between 12 rupees and 18 rupees. So that's the model we follow. That's the physical world. When it comes to digital, it's a question of what are people willing to pay for? Do you want to have, like I said, if your ambition is to help people make sense of India and the world, you'll have a very different outlook. Are people willing to pay for that kind of news, or are people willing to pay for deep down regional news? You build some capacities in some markets, but the national and international outlook exists across the product. The dilemma then is, what is the size of the audience? Where is the audience? How much of it is in India? How much is outside? What are they willing to pay for? The toss-up often is between an approach like that and to build a grounds-up, hyper-local, deeply regional news product. But a national product will do well without regional news, but a hyper-local product is unlikely to do well without a national and international outlook. So the question is, do you want to be something for everybody, or do you want to be everything for someone? Those are the choices you have to make. I think staying away from Delhi, there's a lot of play in looking at India from a different vantage point, move away from the homogeneous cultural and political narratives that emanate out of Delhi, and build specific stuff for your audience in terms of how you interpret national, international news from your vantage point. But that needs to be supplemented by deep down local coverage as well. So those are the decisions one has to make.
You said you have readers who like you, love you, adore you. We have one more category, which is readers who hate us. So
We have to.
Yeah, good point.
I just add to Navaneeth's thing, and keeping the same construct of physical paper and digital. So I'm a great fan of raising cover prices. This may not sit particularly well with a lot of people, but I think that news is a product that deserves to be paid for. It is. I've lived my life in news, so I am biased, but I think news, value-added news analysis features, everything that takes your data, knowledge, wisdom further, I think is something that you should pay for. And we successfully, and when I say we, I speak a little loosely now since I've been out of the system for a year, but in Deccan Herald, we pushed through price increases in the face of very strong competition. And we did that out of a question of principle, because we think that news deserves to be paid for. Now, if you look at the price of and I can be quite boring on this subject, but I'll keep it short. So if you look at the price of a packet of biscuits in 1990, the Janta type of biscuit, and you compare how that price has moved over the years, and the pack size may have changed a little bit, you'll find that that's what was 2 rupees then is probably 20 bucks now. If you look at newspapers, for a variety of reasons, where advertising has been prioritized over the reader, you will find that the price is pretty much the same, or may have gone up slightly. So I think the call that needs to be made among those who read newspapers is whether they wish to pay. And I would make the case that we should be looking to produce high quality newspapers which can be sold for 20, 25 rupees a day. Similarly, on digital, you could make an even stronger case there, because the product is so interactive and you can do so much with the product. Digital at its best is a combination of the rigor of print and the speed and excitement of a real-time medium. So there, if you have 25 bucks a day newspaper, you should be willing to pay 360 times 25 for an annual subscription. I know that will not fly. The gentleman to my right is shaking his head. But I think certainly, given what digital can do, the type of interactivity, the video, the engagement, the live blogs, the minute-by-minute updates, and the rigor that the best digital sites can bring, I think paying for news and paying for news, whether it be print or be digital, is really the order of the day.
I have a supplementary over here. So the Hindu at one point made the case that print is cross-subsidized by the advertiser, is cross-subsidized also by the government, right? The paper that comes is subsidized and all of that, but digital is not subsidized. As a result, you should pay twice, thrice, and all that. So Seema, Shankar, Navaneeth, three of you, if you can just talk about this. And Lisa, don't feel left out. This is the numbers thing. We all have to do it. Tell me what you think, like in passing, about this paying for news and digital versus thing. And once you're done, I want to come back to you guys and talk about this thing of, should people be paying more for digital?
I mean, I think people should be paying for news, otherwise we would be out of a job. I'm not afraid to admit it. I like my job. I'd like to keep it as long as possible. I'm sure there's lots of very informed discussions that people can have about pricing. I know my paper, has that discussion year after year. We keep thinking print is going to die year after year. They make us change the workflow. I don't say this bitterly at all, because we have to move online. And so, I mean, I think it's a discussion that we can't move away from. Something that was very exciting that happened in my newspaper is that we now have sharing links that don't hit a paywall, which is amazing for me, because I deal with sources here who obviously aren't going to read the NRC, but who would like to see their comments back in the paper once I have spoken to them. My newspaper has a pretty stringent paywall. So before I used to have to go, ooh, I'm sorry, there's no way for us to have you access that. And now I can actually send them a little link that's like a gift link. I get 10 a month. I'm very excited. But that's all you're going to get from me, because I'm not informed as well on the business side at all.
I am digital, so I can't speak for print. And since we are subscription-based from day one, we just had 3 or 4 free stories in the first 2 months, and then we went behind paywall. People supported us from the first week, and we had great response. So we don't do anything for free. We did have some free stories, for a few years, and we realized that there were not too many takers. Right? It's not like free stories were read a lot, shared a lot. And we believe that, if we are putting almost our entire cost is people cost. People put 8, 10, 12 days to produce one story. So you have to see the value that comes out of that. And absolutely people should pay. How much they pay is not my area of work, because I'm not an MBA, I'm not a CEO, pricing is not my thing, but I certainly believe people should pay. And just like any other product, it should be ahead of inflation, so that, organizations make money and invest back, and not sort of, lay off reporters like we've seen around the world, including in India. So as she said that she wants to keep her job, I want to keep my job. I want to keep hiring. I want to grow into like a 100-year-old organization, like say, the new FT and the WSJ and of the world. If people don't pay, then how am I going to do it? Advertising, as we all know, is like the tail wags the dog sometimes, right?
So this thing of, like, as editors in our organization, we constantly worry about how much is enough and how much is too much. And your case is interesting to me. Why? Because you guys started saying we will give you one story a day. We don't have this time to, flood your inboxes with 500 stories. We don't have the staff. We don't have but we'll give you that one outstanding story every day. But from there, you guys also evolved to a position where you said, okay, let's also do a newsletter. Then you said, okay, let's also do a podcast. Let's also do more than one story a day. This evolution, do you want to talk about it? This quantity, how much is enough? How much is too much?
Yeah, so we do get some feedback, that there is, even with this, we don't have a lot compared to a news paper. But this evolution happened for 2-3 reasons. One is, of course, that so much is happening that just producing one story a day and thinking that you are relevant for your reader, and your reader wants to hear from you, your version of other things, your take on other news. So we expanded into newsletters. That really helped us expand our coverage. Volume gave us a little bit of volume. Then new formats, podcasts, and now we have a bunch of podcasts, couple of more are planned. So it's just that we're just evolving with times. Audio is an integral part of newsroom, any newsroom. So it's just a gradual evolution. When we started, we wanted to keep to minimal stuff. Given how much, say, the other platforms provide, I think we still provide very curated, minimal stuff with trying to keep to the quality. But it's just a natural evolution of how the world is evolving.
Yeah, so I think, as I said already, I think that you have a choice as consumers, as readers. You want to get your news off WhatsApp, be my guest. It comes with its risks. It comes with a lot of rubbish in it. There may be some good things here and there. Or do you want to pay pay an news organization which is spending very good money and a lot of money to get the news, to check it, to verify it, to get it right. And we don't always get it right, but we do our best. And it is in good faith that it is done. So do you want to get your news off WhatsApp, or do you want it off a reliable news outlet? That's a choice you need to make. That choice made, I think it's a question of what you want to pay for it. My sense would be that as news organizations, as media companies, we should not be shy in asking for more, because I think we consistently underestimate the importance of what we do. I'm not saying we should take ourselves too seriously, but a little bit more seriously may be useful, actually. So that is one question. What was the second one? Quantity versus quality. Okay, so the answer lies... Yeah, is got you. Okay, so I think the answer lies a bit more in who you're trying to please. Is it the advertiser or the subscriber? If the reader is first, obviously fewer, but maybe, I don't know if one would work, maybe a few really high quality stuff that has a long shelf life. If it's the advertiser, a lot, I think that model is actually beginning to die. This fact of, volume flooding the website with headlines, maybe making money for you for a while, but I think that people are beginning to see through that. So the clickbaity headlines are really not working. The door opened and I saw ... I still click on some of those, but I think that's that's beginning to kind of near the end of its life.
In terms of reader revenue, I'm a big fan of higher cover prices on the physical product. We are among the most expensive newspapers in the country, and I'm proud of it. Today on the physical business, probably close to 30% of our revenues come from cover prices and the rest from advertising. And I think over a period of time, we have built our business models with an over-dependence on advertising. And when that goes south, you have a problem. And it comes back to we not having enough faith in our product, we not having enough value in our product. And if you don't value yourself, you don't expect the world to solve your problems. That's the philosophy we went with in our digital business, that we will be subscription first. Not that advertising isn't important, it's important. Today, over half our revenues on the subscription business come from reader revenue through subscriptions for various products. But I think each of us will succeed in the digital news ecosystem only when all of us succeed. It's not like the print business. Today, because so much is free, the reader is asking, why should I pay? If all of us go behind paywalls, that question will become, who should I pay for? And when the question becomes, who should I pay for, all of us will benefit. So I would exhort everybody to go behind paywall, put higher value, respect your journalists a lot more with the faith that people will pay for, and we will all be better off.
Right, thank you. I think we have 10 minutes more for questions. We'll have to... I think there is room for one more discussion, which is this southern question that we have, right? And we are living in difficult times, politically charged times, at a time which is very unique for me. I've seen this pre-digital era when editors would say, who will read this? And there's post-digital phase in which I could go to the editor and say, this is who's reading it. 500 readers. So the thing over here is that these readers who are now active, who are activist, let's even say, how do they interact back with you? And can you answer that question from a southern perspective? How are the southern audiences interacting with Lisa, Navaneeth, Sitaraman, Shankar? Seema, just one final comment on how are these southern audiences reacting differently to the stories that you put out? Do you have a sense of that? And we'll open it up for questions after this.
As I said, we don't profile our readers. So I can't say between how southern and northern. So I don't think that's the right question for me because I'm not a broad newspaper. But as I said, we have readers in far-flung areas, and that's how we select our stories. That why should somebody sitting in Dehradun or Chhattisgarh be interested in this subject? And that's our North Star, the relevance. And I think I'll just pass because we just don't belong to that category of northern and southern audience and how they react. Yeah.
I'll just take a stab at that, and it's going to be an educated guess. So this is more from my print DNA than digital. So I guess audiences in Delhi were far more tuned to the politics and policy story. And politics is kind of flows through the lifeblood of Delhi, as you know, outside the newsroom and inside the newsroom. So people like to know the latest gossip and what is going on. Here, I think the civic story is quite big, and also the tech story. So you will read about the odd pothole here and there. There are a few across the city. And you'll hear about the tech successes that the city has, and there are quite a few more of those. So I think it's not as scientific as looking at the data and coming back with a profile. But I would suspect that somewhere this is still going to hold true.
Well, sadly, I don't have a lot of audience or readers in India itself. But I can say I have spent maybe the first 2 years of my correspondentship. If I was in India, I have spent a lot of time, sadly, maybe in Delhi to try and really get the handle on politics and on especially India's position in the world as a geopolitical player. And I can tell or do think that if I now go back home and interact with readers, that has stuck. And I can tell also by the questions that editors from other outlets are asking me, because I am a freelancer, I'll take occasional other assignments. There is a changed sense and a changed, slightly more nuanced, I hope, and it's slightly improved, I also hope, understanding of Indian politics and India in the world. And then the very nice thing is, because I am a general correspondent here, I get to do that, but then I also pick other things. So there'll be the odd sports story or a music story, and that brings out readers with a very particular niche or hobby. So then it turns out that there's, fans of Carnatic dance somewhere stuck in like a very small village up north in the Netherlands, and they've all read my story. So I do get to learn very interesting little tidbits about the ways that the Dutch people also interact and feel about India.
Thank you so much for a fantastic panel. I want to ask a very fundamental question, which is somebody who is a very avid reader of news and consumer of mainstream media, which is that when you think of news as a product, and when you think of your consumer and as a market, maybe as a reader and an audience, how does the question of the right of a reader feature in your newsroom? So when you talk about paywalls, when you talk about having to pay for quality journalism, absolutely on board that quality journalism needs to be supported in the sense of financial sustainability needs to be imagined. But what about the very real question of class when it comes to India, right? Who is the majority of population in India today? And do they have a right to read quality journalism? And what is it that these fantastic enterprises like the News Minute, the News Laundry, Deccan Herald, Hindu, NRC, is there an imagination of these people in the news that you write? Yeah, thank you.
There always is. And when you say paywall, not 100% of the content is paywalled. For instance, in our case, we believe the best pieces of journalism we do in the newspaper on every day, which we think people should consume and have an opinion about, are editorials. Our editorials are outside the paywall. They're not treated as premium content. And at different points in time, you will calibrate that philosophy. For instance, during COVID, for a year, we put our entire content outside the paywall because it was in large public interest at that time. So it's a balance. And I think each of us strive to achieve it in our own ways.
It's a loaded question, and I, as a small organization, I don't think I have an answer. But I'll just give you an analogy that in aircraft, what do they say? First put on your mask, right? Oxygen mask, and then look at even your family members. So for us, I've been a journalist for many years. I've worked in newspapers, and then I started this because I saw what was happening on the other side. So for me, it's more important that I produce quality journalism, absolutely honest, non-agenda driven journalism, and then worry about how do I take it to non-paying customers, right? Or non-paying readers. Maybe at some point when we are bigger, more mature, financially more secure, we'll find ways to take it to that class of readers. But as of now, I'm just thinking of our survival, honestly. And it is in the day of AI, in piracy, there are WhatsApp groups of thousands of people to share PDFs of our stories. I don't think of that audience. I just think of our survival.
Yeah. I think that in an ideal media landscape, not all journalism can be free because journalism just, there's groundwork involved, there's investigative hours involved. I'm a freelancer myself. If I do investigative work, I know I will lose money. It never ever tallies up. But in a full media landscape, I think the journalism is the one thing. The thing that can be free, I think, is the information that flows out of that. Because in a full media landscape, you would have subsidized public reporting, for instance, that would take up on the information that comes out of one organization that will have the money and will have the clout to fund journalists to go off and do their months-long investigation. Whatever flows out of that, ideally, would be free. Can still be very fraught in some contexts, of course.
I just answer the first part of the question where you said what rights do the readers have. I think the rights that they have are very clearly the rights to write information, write good quality writing, high quality journalism. So and they need they should have the right to see that the news organizations that supply them correct their mistakes, own up to their mistakes, and are honest about what they do. So that's as far as rights go. About the pricing, I think all of them have discussed it. So I agree with a lot of what Navaneeth says.
Just an observation that, what we write doesn't get read by two sets of people who, one is the most powerful and the absolutely powerless. Those are the two sets of people who never read our stuff. So
I think my question would be directed towards Navaneeth and Sitaraman because it's quite related to a newspaper. If we look at the entire supply chain of a newspaper, like gathering news, then analyzing, verification.
She's been holding it for a long time. We are available to catch up after the session. Thank you.
There's a room for the panelists. If you want to ask the question, they can interact with you. That's one volunteer to show you.
I'll meet you right outside.
Okay.
So that's a wrap. Thank you for being here and joining this session. I hope some of your questions are answered. Those that were not answered, you can take them outside. Thank you for joining us.